All right, my buddy Mark Laliberte. Mark, thank you so much for being with me.
Nice to see you, man.
How many years have you come to Building Science Camp, Mark?
I think it's about 15 or 16 of the 19 that they've had it, and I've been blessed to come all the time, so I'm very fortunate.
Wow, that is amazing. You are a giant in the industry, that is for sure.
Oh, thank you, man.
It's been 15 years since I first heard you speak on the topic of building science, that I had no idea what that was 15 years ago.
It's an awesome strategy, and I think when you come here, you just watch this evolution of the science of buildings. Watch how now we're looking at the minutia and the important stuff to make sure we validate what we're talking about. I think it's cool.
Hey Mark, you're in the training business, and you've trained a lot of builders like me across the nation. And as we come to Science Camp, we see a lot of gray hairs. We're starting to see some younger folks as well. But tell me, what's the next way that the young architects, the young builders, are going to get educated in building science?
You know, I think that's a great question. We talk a little bit about LEED, for example. Everybody got LEED certified, LEED AP, and it was just under the assumption that that was an important designation to get. And I'd really like to think about how the enclosure, the occupants, the durability of the building, the efficiency of it, really needs to take precedence in terms of how we look at buildings going forward. Yeah. So I hope from the architectural community, from the design community, from the building community, that we really focus on what we know and need to know about what makes buildings last. And today we should be able to build 150-year lived buildings. Yeah. So I hope that that's the focus of what comes out of this, is an opportunity to really educate the next batch of people concerned about that. So whether you're a rater, you're an architect in grad school, some place that you're thinking about the fact that I want to make sure I understand not just about design, but the entire enclosure and how it works.
Yeah. Mark, tell me about what concerns you in the industry. You travel and speak throughout the entire U.S. You've seen building practices from Anchorage down to the tip of Florida. What are the things that concern you in our country?
Well, I would hate to say this in any other way than there's a level of apathy that still says that we've always done it this way, or I did it this way yesterday, I can do it this way today. And we really have this need for some more craftsmanship, to be honest with you. I think we can't legislate craftsmanship.
No, that's right.
And I think in many cases we look at codes and the assumption that that's going to change things. What's really going to change things is people to believe that building a 100-year lived building for occupants and people is important. Yeah. And I've always said that the Raskin quote of we have to build for generations and really let them realize that we have a responsibility to the next 5 generations to know that what we know today we need to put onto buildings and into buildings. And we know enough about air quality, we know enough about durability, we know enough about thermal performance that this has to happen now. So the things I see in this apathetic world is sloppy work, bad detailing, some sloppy flashing, stuff we already know well, attention to detail and insulation, right mechanical systems. We can do this, and it isn't expensive. It's actually less expensive to do it right. So let's just do that and not wait for somebody to make us do it, but just do it.
Yeah. Hey, what's your big takeaway from this week? You've learned a lot of science over the years, but yet we still learn something every time we come to camp. What's something that you're thinking about or you're learning from this week?
Well, I think the most important thing that I got out of this is just this opportunity when we talked about the issues of Wolfie taking another level, of looking at moisture issues, but also thermal issues, and the whole building assemblies. And so I think the best thing is that when we model and software, really look at buildings in depth as one system. And what they had talked about today was to say, let's load the building in once and get some outputs. We do that with Manual J, Manual D, and Manual S, and software calculations for sizing HVAC loads. But the idea that we should really look at the building, load it once, and get the things that we need to based on climate, about all the other details that matter, orientation, expectations. So I think that if we could do a good job of that, that really sounds like we've got the technology and the software and the knowledge to do this. Let's move it forward. And I love the fact that somebody's looking at the important details. It's exciting.
Yeah, we heard from a professor from Germany about Wolfie analysis. And if you're not familiar with Wolfie, it's basically an analysis that goes beyond normal energy modeling and brings a hydrothermal analysis as well to a building. How does the effects of moisture and humidity and temperature and all that together act on a building? And they were talking about castles in Germany and doing Wolfie analysis.
Yeah, Bavarian castles, and what we learned about the fact that any building that made it for a few hundreds of years maybe can have something to teach us about buildings that we're trying to get to last 100 years. Right. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, very cool. Thank you, Mark. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure. Thanks, Matt. You're an awesome builder, and you're doing a great job, and I appreciate what you do for the industry, so thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Pleasure.
All right, we'll see you later, buddy.
Bye-bye.